Good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming along today to today's webinar, Staying Safe Online, Positives, Risks, and Building Awareness. So my name is Daragh Kennedy, as you can see on the screen. I am the National Safeguarding Manager with the Irish Wheelchair Association, and I'm your host today, or MC or referee, whatever is needed to bring us through the session today. We have a good selection of people coming in to share their knowledge and experience and wisdom into this space of how we safeguard people online. It's great to see so many coming in. We're into the 100 now, so that's great, and more people will join as we go along. Just want to remind you that today's session is being recorded, so it'll be available to share with other folks who couldn't make it today and used for continuous learning and continuous improvement in this space. Today has been brought to you by the HSE National Safeguarding Office under Tim Hanley, who's going to give us a quick introduction now. And it's a collaboration with National Federation of Service Providers and the Disability Federation of Ireland. So it's great to have everybody with us. So National Federation of Voluntary Service Providers, apologies, I knew I got that wrong. So hopefully that's my first mistake of the day out of the way, and I'm going to hand over to Tim to say a few words and tee us off. So over to you, Tim.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks for the introduction, Daragh. My name is Tim Handley, and I'm General Manager of the HSE's National Safeguarding Office. Staying safe online, positive risks and building awareness, a very timely webinar. Thank you to you all for showing such interest and logging on today. Welcome to everybody, whether you're a staff member, a manager, a family member, a student, a person using services. You're all very welcome to what I hope will be a really interesting discussion, sharing of knowledge on this important topic. I'd just also like to acknowledge today is Health and Social Care Professionals Day 2024, and I'd like to acknowledge the really vital work that all our health and social care professionals do in the area of adult safeguarding. Firstly, on behalf of the HSE and the National Safeguarding Office, we're really pleased to partner and collaborate with the Disability Federation of Ireland and the National Federation of Voluntary Services Providers to bring you this webinar and introduce you to this range of very informative speakers and presenters. Can I say just a little bit about our adult reference group between the HSE and our service providers? This is the collaborative forum and has a number of important roles. One is to identify areas of education and information sharing that we can hold events like today. This very topic has been identified through our reference group as a very necessary and timely issue. We see technology and what it has brought and the benefits it has brought to everyone, and particularly to adults who use our services and we support. It has opened up a number of really exciting opportunities to connect and advance socially valued lives. However, it also has brought risks. And as we saw on that last night's RTE primetime, areas such as social media platforms can bring significant risks to both children and adults who need our support. Indeed, later today, I will be hearing from the Law Reform Commission on how our laws in Ireland and our powers can be strengthened to protect adults in vulnerable situations. As I walk down here today to this very event, I passed the international headquarters of Facebook. I think it's now called Meta, and these providers have important responsibilities. For us in the National Safeguarding Office, working with our safeguarding teams, there's 9 of them around the country, we have seen examples of increasing incidents of all forms of abuse and exploitation happening online. Whilst regulation of online platforms and adult safeguarding legislation is required and will bring changes, it is important to consider some of the practical steps to empower adults themselves, to keep themselves safe, and also what services can do to support adults to use the cyberspace in a positive way. It is great to see and hear today from the speakers from An Garda Síochána, Rehabcare, TCD, DigiAcademy and Spun Out. I'm looking forward to hearing the examples on the groups and the initiatives that have done where adults themselves have co-produced. And I'm excited to hear from DigiID, which is creating accessible digital skills. And we welcome Esther and James Delaney, who will give you his thoughts and experiences. And I think also Michael, his key worker. Today is being recorded for those unable to attend. We are open to further events and education sessions. And from the HSE and the National Safeguarding Office, we will certainly look at research in this area to look at how we can further develop practical strategies. Finally, I'd like to thank Southern Media, our media support partner, and everyone in the NSO, DFI and the National Federation who have worked in the background to set up and provide the technology support for today. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I'll hand you back now to my colleague, Daragh. Thank you.
Many thanks, Tim, and really good to have this collaboration and I suppose the sharing of knowledge from practitioners and also policymakers and people who are at the cold front of improving, I suppose, the online safety where it's needed. So I'm going to get us started off anyways in relation to our first speaker. So we have Detective Superintendent Ian Lackey from An Garda Síochána. So I have a little bit of background information here about Ian. So he's a native of Dublin. Detective Superintendent Ian Lackey has 36 years policing experience and is presently attached to the Garda National Protective Services Bureau with responsibility for the Online Child Exploitation Unit, the National Child Protection Unit, and the Sexual Crime Management Unit. He's also served with the South Yorkshire Police and has worked in a variety of operational settings in both rural and urban areas, and in Garda headquarters in the areas of organisation, development, and change management. On a personal level, I've had the pleasure of interacting with some of Ian's colleagues over the years where we've had some complex cases or queries to work through, and they've always been very accommodating and very open to engaging and trying to problem solve and support us. So it's with great pleasure I introduce Ian to you all. So go ahead, Ian.
Good morning, everybody. Ian Lackey is my name, and I'm here to talk to you, I suppose, from the Garda perspective about staying safe online. And as was mentioned, I work in the National Protective Services Bureau, and the Protective Services Bureau, we cover everything from the areas I cover, but also in relation to adult safeguarding, victim liaison, human trafficking, organised prostitution, missing persons, sex offender management, and domestic violence. So we've a big variety of different areas we work in. Sorry, if the slides could just be shown there. Yeah, if you go on to the third slide, please. And yeah, that's fine. So we provide advice, guidance, and assistance to divisional Gardaí that investigate all these incidents. We also investigate the more higher profile and maybe more sensitive investigations here ourselves. And we also have responsibility for the management of the divisional protective service units. So while we are a national unit, in each Garda division, we have a divisional protective service unit that looks after these same areas and does investigations in these same areas. This is a kind of a recent advance for An Garda Síochána. In the last 4 or 5 years, these divisional protective service units were established. So it means we have specialist Gardaí in every division, that if a victim comes in relation to certain types of crime now, they have a specialist unit that can assist them in that investigation. And the feedback in relation to the establishment of the divisional protective services units has been very positive. Next slide, please. I suppose in my time in policing, crime has evolved significantly. When I started back in 1988, crime happened in public, right? So we had street assaults, street robberies, bag snatches, cars being broken into, etc. Over time, we became more aware of crime that happened in private places. So obviously we had the sexual abuse, is clerical sexual abuse, domestic violence. These were things when I joined that weren't really spoken about and weren't really reported to the guards. And more recently then, crime is happening in virtual places. So the person 36 years ago that would have to pick your pocket to get your purse can virtually pick your pocket from the far side of the world now. Next slide, please. Okay, it's estimated, and this is 2014, where it says billions of euros. I say easily now it's tens of billions of euros in losses are accrued to internet users due to cyber attacks that exploit human vulnerabilities. And vulnerable persons, particularly older persons, are one of the most vulnerable groups of internet users who are prone to cyber attacks. And really, it's our limited, and I would include myself in this, our limited awareness of cybersecurity countermeasures. That the internet has brought us many things, but also it has also brought the criminals many things as well, opportunities to exploit people. As I say, it's far easier to hack somebody's account than to go into a bank with a shotgun now, to get the money, and they're far less likely to be detected because the person could be on the other side of the world. And while we have fairly good relationships through Interpol and Europol with certain police forces, with other police forces and in other areas of the world, it's far more difficult. Next slide, please. So it's estimated there are at least 1 million victims a day in relation to cybercrime. So that's 50,000 victims every hour, down to 14 victims every second. And again, these statistics are a few years old at this stage, so we would have to assume that number has only gone up. And if you look at that 65% among all cybercrime victims surveyed, 2/3 have fallen prey in the last 12 months alone. And I mean, I know I have got unsolicited texts and emails in relation to things, and I'm sure most of the people on here have as well. We're becoming more aware. An Garda Síochána's, I suppose our role in it is to create awareness and to prevent. We would far prefer to prevent a crime than to detect a crime where somebody has lost, in some cases, significant amounts of money. Next slide, please. So a vulnerable person is more likely to be the victim of online financial fraud, and that's costing more than 2.6 billion years alone, and that's in the US, where they have far better statistics than we have in relation to this. Obviously, vulnerable persons more so, and anybody who suffers identity theft suffers devastating effects, right? People are ashamed, they're embarrassed, and because of that, only a certain amount of people come forward to us to tell them that this has happened. In some cases, and you've probably heard in the most recent past, people have lost their life savings. And we find that particularly with more vulnerable people, the big issue is the embarrassment and the shame they feel at being duped out of amounts of money, or being duped into other things that I'll explain now in relation to other incidents and crimes that happen online. Next slide, please. So our partners, the Garda National Economic Crime Bureau, is aware of a large volume of incidents of phishing, right? So you've heard all this, but this is where you get email or written correspondence, like which is fairly rare in these days, but mainly emails. Vishing is where you might get an unsolicited phone call, and smishing, right, in relation to an unsolicited text message. And these are being reported more and more by members of the public to An Garda Síochána. And I think that's because there is generally greater awareness of these things happening. So these occur when a fraudster communicates with victims to obtain sensitive information, such as personal details, name, address, date of birth, PPS number, bank account details, credit card details, usernames, passwords, etc. And once the criminal has that information, they can use it to commit a variety of crimes that I'll come to in a minute. And more, we find that if you think of whenever there's a major event and there's fraud associated with it. So if there's a major concert, we will find that bogus sites go up in relation to selling tickets, or in relation to people maybe coming up from the country to get accommodation in Dublin, where this has happened. You know, they go up, there's no such booking, or there's no such ticket, and it has happened time and time again. I myself was involved in concerts out in Rathfarnham and Marley Park a few years ago, and one particular year there was a significant amount of young people came forward with bogus tickets that they had bought in good faith and paid their hard-earned money, or their parents' hard-earned money on, you know, just to be disappointed by it. Next slide, please. So in relation to these type of offences, there's theft, and basically if somebody steals money from you, even remotely, it's theft. And fraud offences, people can open bank accounts in your name. They can obtain credit, loans, or state benefits, order goods in your name, take out mobile phone contracts, and engage in SIM swabs, where, you know, they can get information from your SIM card, or ultimately take over bank accounts. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have this certain legislation, and I'll just go through this quickly, right? So we have legislation in relation to blackmail, which, right, people can end up to 14 years in prison. Next slide, please. The unlawful use of a computer, again, that can be come with imprisonment of up to 10 years. Next slide, please. And coercion, where somebody is compelled to do or not do any lawful act, or threatens or intimidates or watches or besets people, and that can be a fine of or imprisonment up to 5 years. Next slide, please. And there's also then deception, and that's a fine of up to a fine or imprisonment up to 5 years. Next slide, please. Okay, so before I go on to the prevention, more and more as well, we're finding with all people, and particularly with vulnerable people, where because people use the internet so often, and use social media sites so often, that people are getting messages in relation to, for example, we've had a spate of them where people get an unsolicited email to say, hello, John or Ian, we're aware that you have been looking at certain sites, right? Say pornography sites. And if you don't pay us X amount of money, we will send this information to all your contacts. Okay, that has happened. We've also have occasions where people have maybe shared an image that with somebody, and they're being blackmailed or coerced in relation to that image. Again, that if you don't pay me X amount of money, I will share this image with all your contacts. But I would say on that occasion, if anybody maybe innocently has posted an image on any of that appears on any of the social media sites, if they contact An Garda Síochána, we have the ability to take it down, or if they contact an organization called hotline.ie, they can take that down and take it down very quickly. And again, this all feeds into people's vulnerability, but also the embarrassment that people feel that they have been duped in this regard. And that's why a lot of people don't come forward, but we would encourage people to come forward. So in relation to prevention, it's about using domestic retail websites where possible. It'll be more likely that you can sort out any problems. So like this, the people that you can trust, or sites that you can trust or that you've used before. If you can, do research before buying, particularly, like, as they say, if something is too good to be true, it is too good to be true in relation to a bargain. With using credit cards, you have more chance of getting your money back. And if there is a crime ultimately committed, it makes it easier for An Garda Síochána to start trying to detect that crime or track what has happened. Pay by using only secure payment service. So pay when you're connected to a secure internet connection. Pay only on a safe device. I know certain banks might have a device that you use, like a card reader device that gives you a particular number. As I say, beware of ads offering outrageous deals or miracle products, or pop-up ads that you've won a prize. think twice, because if you click into these, it might just be malware. And if your product doesn't arrive, contact the seller. And if there's no issue, if there's no answer, or you're getting no thing, maybe contact your bank in relation to the stopping payment if possible, or at least maybe sometimes being able to retrieve that payment. Next slide. Our next slide, please. Okay. So the prevention, like we have crime prevention officers in every Garda division, and also our Economic Crime Bureau in particular are very active in relation to giving out messages in relation to fraud, the fraud aspect of it. From our point of view, we're involved in more to do with particularly around the intimate images and that side of things, which is commonly known as sextortion. But that's a thing that has really the numbers of reports in relation to sextortion has really increased in the last number of years. Some of that is because we've got out there and told people it is a crime and this is what you can do. So like sometimes an increase in crime reporting we can see as a good thing, where people have more, maybe they've more faith in An Garda Síochána to do something about it. They know that we can do something about it, particularly if there's an image that they want taken down, etc. But it has significantly gone up with vulnerable people, particularly, and that includes older people, vulnerable people, and a lot of young people as well. We come across as well. So prevention is all around informing internet users of cybersecurity issues and threats, as well as enhancing their understanding of cyber threats, so they can be fully committed to embracing security when they use the internet. Cybersecurity awareness, countermeasures training focus on making internet users more aware so that they can identify cyber attacks, as well as mitigate or stop the effects, lessen the effects of the cyber attacks when they use the internet. So I think it's always about just for people to be aware. Obviously, we want to encourage people to be more, to use the internet more, because we're forced to use the internet more in our daily lives, but just to be aware that to ask that question each time: am I satisfied that this is a valid site? Am I satisfied, that this is above board? Next slide, please. Okay. In relation to prevention, through our crime prevention officers and our community policing, it's making senior citizens aware of the potential dangers of phishing attacks and using unsecured Wi-Fi networks, as well as how to mitigate the impacts of cyber attacks. Senior citizens make up one of the fastest growing groups of internet users. That was back, I say, in 2006 that was done. So again, look, these numbers have gone up significantly. Since 2012, more than half of all senior citizens report using the internet, and the greatest rate of change since 2000 among all groups surveyed. Cybersecurity awareness is essential. So I would ask, like any groups in relation to, if they're around the country, the crime prevention, the Garda Crime Prevention Officer network is there, community policing network is there, where people can go and maybe give talks to groups of people in relation to that. Or if they've any particular issues that they would contact in every Garda division, there's a divisional crime prevention officer that they can give advice in relation to that, or get them the advice they need, or even material, even in relation to leaflets, etc., into what people can do. Next slide, please. So our colleagues in economic crime in response to recent incidents have issued a number of media warnings. So for the attention of the public in regard to this type of fraud. And every year you'll probably notice them around Valentine's Day in particular. There's ones about romance fraud, where maybe people, vulnerable people online, are befriended by somebody who pretends to be, maybe pretends and gives them information that they develop maybe some romantic liaison, and that continues and and they send pictures, etc. And then ultimately they start looking for money. I'd love to be able to go over and see you, but my mother is sick and I have to pay her hospital bills, etc., etc., etc. So, but I say that's the target. That target's at that time of the year, but this is something that happens year round. So be wary of any unsolicited calls, especially if it's initially automated, you know, and you're asked to press a particular number. Do not engage with the caller and hang up immediately. Do not return the call. Never share information such as your PPS number, banking details, or personal PIN numbers. Do not allow, enable, or permit any person to move money out of your account or remove money for them. Okay, and you may have heard of the term money mules, right? So a lot of people are caught by this, particularly a lot of young students, third level students, where they're being offered money. They're being offered an amount of money for people to let them use their account to put money into. And the unfortunate thing in doing that, they're committing a crime. And they're liable to be convicted on that. And what comes with a conviction is convictions can affect your ability to travel, employment, etc. down the road. Do not download any apps onto your phone or provide remote access to your computer. But in downloading any apps, it's only the ones that you are satisfied are genuine. Do not meet or arrange to meet the caller in any way. And the state agencies like Social Protection, An Garda Síochána, the Office of the Attorney General, any of those will never ring you looking for personal data. You know, if in doubt, contact your local Garda station. If you're in doubt about anybody that contacts you in relation to any of these things, and the same principles apply to emails and text messages, etc. Next slide, please. Okay, so there what can happen, as I said, theft and fraud offences, opening bank accounts, obtaining credit, ordering goods, engaging in sinister and taking over your bank account. Next slide. I'm just conscious of time here as well. Okay, so in the spring of 2001, incidents reported in Garda Síochána how fraudsters are posing as government officials, personnel from regulatory bodies in order to influence and manipulate victims into divulging personal information. Right, and this is particularly, you know, I think this is particularly relevant in relation to vulnerable persons. The contact is purported to be made from An Garda Síochána or from Revenue, Social Welfare, the HSE, TUSL, or the Attorney General's Office. The contact generally implies urgency and a need for the recipient of the email, call, or message to act with haste to avoid suffering some sort of loss or miss an opportunity to make a gain. The sense of urgency is created by the fraudster to create a situation where the victim does not have time to think or seek advice. This fraud relies on social engineering techniques. The human factor is targeted by fraudsters as a weak link, as it is often far simpler or fraud to complete as opposed to sophisticated hacking or the use of malware. So if you can think of it, these fraudsters, sometimes they work you might have a room of maybe 10 or 20 of them. They're making all these unsolicited calls and sending all these unsolicited emails. You know, they can sell thousands of emails and messages a day, and they only have to be lucky in a very small percentage of them to make it worth their while. Next slide, please. Okay, I spoke about the crime prevention officers. So they can help in developing and assessing strategies to combat and reduce crime. They can promote, assist and coordinate crime prevention initiatives if any group feels it's worthwhile. They can also prepare locally crime prevention messages for all media formats, because we're very aware that the national media, people always don't listen to the national media. I know local radio in particular is a great avenue for us to get our messages out and about. They can help in relation to crime prevention informations and leaflets and graphics. And look, if we're talking about vulnerability of particular locations, buildings or houses, they can conduct security reviews on that, and we'll give you the best advice in relation to that. And they can deliver crime prevention presentations. Next slide, please. Okay, that's just for people to see, right? And I think that's my last slide. So look, a bit of a whistle-stop tour. I'm very happy to take any questions now, or at the end of the presentations. And thanks for your time.
Thanks very much, Ian. And I see your details come up there as well. So that's fantastic. And just to remind people that the slides will be they're obviously up there in the presentation. So they're this recording will be made available to the National Safeguarding Office in the HSE. And it's my bad in terms of questions. I meant to say at the start just to let people know that the Q&A tab is there for people to throw in questions. So if anything comes up during the course of any of the presentations today, please do throw them in there. Ian, I just want just in terms of just immediate actions that somebody should take if they've been a victim of a crime. So just, during, just whether it's a staff member supporting somebody or somebody who's looking at this who might be a parent of somebody or a person themselves who's been the victim and they realize, oh, this has happened. What would you say the first things that they should do?
Okay. Well, do not delete any. If you have been contacted maybe online or even by text messages, do not delete any of those messages, because those messages are vital for us. If possible, on a phone, even take some screenshots if people can do that of messages, just in case because you'll have them then forever. Contact us as soon as possible, because this could be, you could be one of quite a number of people that have been targeted at a particular time. So it allows us, if necessary, give out a crime prevention message, as well as investigating your particular incident. So like that would be the first thing, is that, which is basically, it's kind of old policing, which is you preserve whatever evidence you have. Obviously you report it to allow us to begin some sort of investigations. As I say, sometimes it's difficult. You might stop it happening to somebody further. Sometimes we can get monies back depending on where they have or how far they've traveled, maybe in terms of the banking journey from your account, if money has been taken. But in certain cases, monies have been retrieved. And I know, like, as I say, that these groups are extremely sophisticated, and they operate here in Ireland, but they operate from all over the world as well. And I know our economic crime bureau have kind of been very successful in relation to the higher echelons maybe of these groups. But look, you stop one group and another one will pop up, because there's such an opportunity there for people. Like, it's like you send out 100 letters to somebody, to the different people, asking them for you're hard up, you need a few bob. It only takes one or two to send you the money and you have some money, so like and the internet enables thousands and thousands of messages to be sent out at the one time,
Sure, yeah, and that scattergun, just there's going to be a hit at some stage, and that's really good and useful. And when you say contact us, so it's a local Garda station, and they will
contact
be able
the local
to...
Garda station, absolutely. If there's any issues, generally, you have our email address there in relation to if there's any kind of significant issues. But look, if the number is there and the email address is there, and we can send it to the relevant the relevant people if necessary as well.
Great.
And in every Garda division, the local Garda station will know who the local crime prevention officer is as well in relation to division.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for that advice to people to develop that relationship with the crime prevention officer and the community guard in terms of that prevention work is really, really good. And we've seen that in one of our services, where there was a young man came into our service one day and he was just bounding with pride that he had identified the scam that he was targeted by and he had shut it down. And he was just, and so the weeks previously there had been a session to educate and to make people aware, and he was so happy that he could actually spot it and shut it down, and then the information was passed on to the guards for investigation, and that's all good. So my colleague Sarah Mahan in the National Safeguarding Office is monitoring our Q&A questions coming in. So Sarah, you have a question there for Ian?
I do. Thanks very much, Daragh. Ian, we've had a question in from Rita saying that the stats that you cited earlier, where are they from? If you could give her the reference.
Okay, a lot of those stats are US stats, because they've done significant research in relation to it. That's kind of, been kind of validated academically. Like the stats An Garda Síochána can give you are in relation to maybe, the number of fraud offences every year, and that doesn't really tell tell the story. I think the likes of particularly that infographic there, that's an American infographic, but like that I suppose in one picture gives you an idea of the scale of this issue worldwide, you know.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Ian. And you know, the hotline.ie resource is, I described it in training recently as one of the best kept secrets in Ireland in ways, because
absolutely, and they can get taken down about, I think it's up to 90% of requests they can get the image taken down, and in a lot of cases within a few days, you know. So they have significant success. That's in relation to adult images. If it's a child, obviously then the Gardaí are obliged to be informed if it's anything to do with a child. People can contact hotline and the Gardaí never need to know about it unless they want to report it to us. So if people, and we understand people can be very embarrassed about situations like that. So contact hotline, they will deal with you and you only in relation to it, and will attempt to get the image taken down, and there's no obligation on them to contact us. They will tell you about the guards, and if you want to contact the guards, that's fine, you know, and we will investigate anything. You know, but we fully understand that some people just for various reasons can't come forward, or you know, can't feel they can come forward.
That's great. Okay. Really appreciate your time and just the insights today. And thankfully Ian's going to stick around, and if there's any further questions that come in during the session, you'll be able to address them later on. So thanks for that, Ian.
Thank you very much. Yeah, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Great stuff. Thank you. So we're going to move along now to Dean Maloney. So Dean is a program facilitator and community support worker in Rehabcare. So Dean is a health promotion and public health graduate from ATU Sligo. He is currently a program facilitator and community support worker at Rehabcare Elevate in County Sligo. So Dean designs and implements programs for Rehabcare Elevate and supports community integrations for individuals. So Dean, from your practice perspective and somebody who's working very much alongside people who have an online life and supporting them with the positives, the negatives, the opportunities, all that good stuff, just to share with us what you guys have been doing. Yeah, over to you. So thanks, Dean.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Dean Maloney. I'm a program facilitator at Sligo for Rehab Group. And we, in response to a safeguarding issue that we had, we created a program on social media called Supporting Independent Social Media and Internet Usage. And this was open to all the group to participate in. And I suppose we introduced it to everyone just because to maybe prevent further issues and just to create that awareness. It was a good opportunity for us as well to be able to create a program and facilitate it to the group. So building capacity and shared learning. Our safeguarding team led a review of screenings and safeguarding plans submitted within the category of sexual harm, and they came across our response to our social media program. The program formed as part of a safeguarding plan as a response to a safeguarding concern where social media was involved. So the safeguarding team contacted myself and my manager, Natasha, and approached us to look at the possibility of viewing the program and their openness to sharing the learning. So straight away, we were completely willing to do this and to facilitate a presentation based on our program. The key messages from the safeguarding team led, you don't have to be an expert in everything. If you don't know something, someone out there will. It's not necessarily always about more resources. Make better use of the ones we have. Don't overlook the talent that exists. It's all about relationships, keep making connections. And I think this really does present the program in a great way. We took resources from the likes of Spun Out.ie and Webwise.ie and then just tailored them to suit our group. So making the language more inclusive or adding visual aids, using multimedia to create a kind of more inclusive and tailored to our group and the needs of our group. So I'm just going to go through the scenario briefly of what led us to creating the program. So the following scenario is based on safeguarding incident reported by our team. The name of the individual has been removed in order to protect their identity. For the purpose of this presentation, the individual will be referred to as Star. So Star is an individual who lives at home with their parents. Star attends Rehabcare Sligo. They are funded through the HSE. Star is supported by staff to make informed decisions based on choices, and information collected. Star is supported by behavioural therapy support and has a My Choice document to aid her decision making. Star is an independent individual who enjoys company of others, especially staff, and would prefer to have staff with them when in the community. And Star is very interested in arts and crafts. So the safeguarding concern. Star called the Gardaí independently from the day service to report that a male known to them was messaging them on Snapchat, which is a social media platform, the night before at their home. Late into the evening, Star says the conversation led to him asking them if they wanted to see a picture of his penis. They said they did not want to see them and proceeded to block them. Star did not consult staff or their parents before calling the Gardaí, and did not make any staff or family aware of the situation before calling the Gardaí. The Gardaí would log the call, however, would not proceed with a formal report unless Star phoned back with further details of the allegation. This was explained to Star and their mother with Star's consent, and they were advised to phone 999 should they want an officer to come to the house and make a formal statement. A preliminary screening form was submitted to safeguarding based on the information given by Star and the conversation with the Gardaí. So due to the nature of the alleged allegation and safeguarding concern, designated officers and a formal notification, the Garda Síochána in line with the safeguarding process. However, due to lack of evidence, this didn't go any further, and Star was made aware if she would like to make a formal statement to contact the guards. So again, as part of the overall response, we created a cyber safety and cyber wellness program to highlight the dangers and risks associated with online content. So the introduction to the program. This initiative is designed to equip participants with essential skills and knowledge for navigating the digital landscape confidently and responsibly. In a series of engagement sessions, we explored facets of social media, internet safety, and digital citizenship, from understanding different platforms to mastering privacy settings and combating cyberbullying. While being inclusive, this program empowers participants to make informed choices in their online interactions. And you can see there on the right-hand side, we have two photos. Luckily, we're privileged to have a smart board where we can do various different things, save documents, write on it, do quizzes. And we really try to utilize this as well because it gets good engagement from the participants and they enjoy going up, being part of the whole facilitation and contributing their voice and their opinion to the group. So just a breakdown of the session plans. So we had the introduction to social media where we looked at pros and cons of social media. We looked at different types of social medias out there. And then our next session was simple ways of staying safe online. So learning and improving privacy settings, passwords, and actions to keep yourself safe. Sorry to move this. And passwords and actions that can keep you safe. So we took resources from spunout.ie, webwise.ie, and various other resources to try and facilitate this, and just tailored different language to make it more inclusive, and added different activities such as role play activities, quizzes, and other kind of varieties of kind of multimedia videos were used as well to create this. And then being sharp, alert, secure, kind, and brave online. So overall internet safety. And we used a program that Google developed called Internet Legends, which is a program where you get to navigate yourself through the internet. And you're this character that goes through different stages of the internet, whether it be in scams, bullies, and they get to make a decision based on that. And this was really engaging. They really enjoyed just sitting down, being the character, getting to make the choices, seeing where they might have gone wrong, where they might have to go back onto. And then we looked at cyberbullying and unsettling encounters online and understanding what to do. So this was looking at ways, what you should do if you are the one being bullied, and what you should do if you do see cyberbullying online. And again, spunout.ie was a great resource for this, and Webwise was also a great resource. And again, just that tailored approach. Webwise offer various different videos that are fun and entertaining. They have raps and videos that got good engagement, and then it would just be an open, honest conversation of what they think, and letting them have their voice and their opinion to contribute to the group as well on what they feel is cyberbullying and what needs to be taken, what action should be taken after you see or you are being cyberbullied. And then finally, we have digital citizenship, which encompasses responsible and ethical behavior in the use of technology and the internet. So we looked at what is a digital citizen and how you can be a digital citizen. And by the end of the program, they were able to tell me exactly what a digital citizen is. And we looked at a list, and they created a list themselves on what actions they should take to be a digital citizen. So then the program execution, the program employs a dynamic approach of integrating visual aids, quiz-based learning, interactive quizzes, and multimedia elements to engage participants. By blending these methods, the program fosters active participation, critical thinking, and exploration of diverse internet narratives in a comprehensive manner. So we had visual aids and reinforcements throughout the program. So some of these was keep it to yourself, and then we'd have a picture of a toothbrush, because you wouldn't share your toothbrush, so you shouldn't share your password the same way as you wouldn't share your toothbrush. And then we had another example would be think before you post, that everything you post on the internet can be permanent and everyone can see it. So we had a eraser or a rubber beside it to try and reinforce this, that you can't just take it away, or a permanent marker was used also. Quiz-based learning, we used Kahoot, and Kahoot is great because it has an evaluation tool as well, where you can see how many answers were correct and what answers weren't correct. So this kind of helped us to see if there was a continuous learning throughout the program. And then we had interactive quizzes and games. So again, the likes of, we used another app called Jeopardy, where you create the quiz, and then you can foster that online learning then as well throughout the program. And then we had the Exploring Internet Narratives, which was, again, the Internet Legends game. And we had multimedia integration, which looked at different videos, looking at videos of how to change your privacy settings on the likes of Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And then we had group activities, which was role-playing different narratives. And we looked at matching definitions to which social media offers which service, whether it be in Snapchat is instant feed of images and lasts 10 seconds and it's gone then after that, or looked at Instagram, which is a photo sharing platform, and Facebook that has the messaging involved, and it has a Facebook wall, and try to illustrate that there's different types of social media that offers different things depending on what you're looking for. And then visual aids, again, the reinforcement. So now we just have some feedback from the guys themselves that took part in the program. So I'll just run through that. As you can see, the communication was a big benefit. They learned about safety, online safety, learned how to be a digital citizen, and their favorite part of the game, favorite part of the program was the Internet Legends game. And they would do this independently by themselves, just to, even after the program, to learn more, but also because it was a fun game to be part of. So some individuals had a good knowledge of social media and they wanted to contribute to the group. So we facilitated this as best we could, allowing them to add ideas of activities, programs that topics they might want to touch on. And this kind of created a good confidence boost as well, and adds more kind of group engagement throughout, and gives them a platform as well to share their own experiences or experiences they may have heard of, and to be able to tackle them and to be able to try and prevent and make people more aware of certain situations that have happened before. So learning about online safety and passwords and settings. So a lot of our participants in the group, as part of their key working session, they wanted to create more secure passwords and be able to remember them. So we looked up systems that we could use, and it was, some of the learning was that we would use a password that they would remember and then tailor it. So an example would be Man United. A lot of Man United fans in our day service, and they would change the capital letters to lowercase letters, add the @ sign for the A, and change one letter to a number, and then add an exclamation mark at the end. So then you get that reinforced learning as well. And they also remember their password, and it's personal to them as well, so they're not going to forget it. And it's also as secure as it can be, and it's meeting all the categories of a safe password being lowercase, uppercase, special characters, and numbers involved in the password. So this is just an example of the improved learning. So the Kahoot quizzes from session 1 and session 2, we had 55 to 52% of the answers being correct. And then by session 5, session 6, the 71% to 85% of the questions are being answered and correctly. And we added more questions as we went along to each topic. And then sometimes we would do a before and after Kahoot quiz as well. So as you can see there on the next picture there, that this was the before learning on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side, you have the after session. So as you can see, there's a lot more green, 100% than on the left-hand side. So that improved learning was there. I suppose what we'd like to see after this is just a continued learning, the likes of establishing a nice online community where they get the learning of how to be a digital citizen. Regular webinars and workshops like this really do help, and give us the learning as well to maybe improve our program and to tailor it to the needs of our group. So the conclusion is, throughout our sessions, we explored social media intricacies, internet safety, and digital citizenship. Participants gained insight into diverse platforms and mastered privacy settings, emerging as informed and empowered digital citizens. Interactive activities, engaging discussions, and collaboration have paved the way for a safer community. Our positive impact extends beyond digital realms, shaping real-life behaviours. We emphasise countering cyberbullying and promoting kindness online, creating a culture of respect and responsibility. And that really is the conclusion. And on the right-hand side there is just a poster that we made, just an easy kind of poster. And some of the quotes from the participants was, "It was interesting, good. The videos were fun and easy to understand. I've changed my passwords to make them stronger. It was not what I expected. I thought there would be more explanation in different social medias. I thought it was good and beneficial overall, and a good overview of social media safety. I liked the program. It was fun and tasteful. I liked the Kahoots. I learned a lot. I learned about online safety, passwords, and settings. The quizzes were my favorite. It was a good and fun group. I suppose that was probably my most important thing, was to make it as fun as and engaging as possible, because it is such a sensitive topic to a lot of people. So I thought it was important to make it fun and engaging, and as safe of a space as we could possibly make it, that people were going to give their opinions because they felt that they could, and they could contribute to the group as best they could as well. I'd just like to say that we do have a resource pack as well of the list of resources that we used. And if anyone would like access to them, you can email me at dean.maloney@rehabcare.ie and we'll send them on to you. I've added resources that I didn't use, but I felt that would be important to tailor to different groups, because every group is different. And I feel that it would be important to have these resources there, so the tailorment needs to be made. So yeah, that's my presentation. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share it. I appreciate it a lot.
Oh, it's fantastic, Dean, and well done. My goodness, you really portrayed the work and the just the journey that you went on from, looking at what the need is, and also the requests from people, and just like you just kind of tapped into a rich kind of vein of enthusiasm and everything. And I really like the way you I like loads about it, but just in particular, using resources that are already out there. Hotline.ie and webwise.ie have absolute, buckets full of resources. So it's because sometimes, when you start, you think, oh gosh, where do we start in developing a program? And you have to start getting videos and all this, but actually just to stop and think what's out there that we can use. And thankfully, the likes of Webwise and Hotline, Spun Out, should I say,
Yes.
have provided those so that people can use them and maximize the use of them. So fair play. Yeah, really good.
Thank you.
Just shout out your email address there again, please.
It's dean.maloney, MALONEY @rehabcare.ie.
Fantastic. I would say you're going to get some queries, because we had some questions in from the folks online here looking for the name of the the actual program again. So it's supporting independent social media and internet usage. That's
Yeah,
the name of the
that's the name
program.
of the program. Yes.
Fantastic. And also where to get their hands on the resource. So fantastic. I'd say you might
Perfect.
be getting a few messages there.
Great.
Sarah, anything else that burning came in on the questions that we could address now, or we can hold till
No,
after?
that was it, Daragh. It was lots of comments coming in saying it's fantastic, Dean. They look forward to accessing the resources, and everybody asking for your email again. So I've put that in the chat box, and people saying it was an excellent presentation. So well done. Mostly people want to get their hands on it.
Thank you very much. No, I appreciate the opportunity as well to share what we've done in Rehabcare as well. So thank you.
Absolutely. And you gave it a really good kind of representation there, and very professional. So excellent, well done. And I look forward to send that request into you as well, and see where we can go.
Perfect.
And I suppose also another part that I liked about it was using technology as a learning tool, because sometimes when we come on to sessions like this and it's all about what's bad about the internet, but actually in your presentation you gave clear examples of how the internet, this technology, can be used for good, and using the Cahoots and all the different kind of platforms that are out there to maximize the learning opportunity, but also to show people that this is a bit of kit. This is like a laptop that we're using or whatever. It is there to be used for good or bad. And in your program, you've demonstrated how they can use it for good, and that's really good, and they can have confidence in doing that. So, and that leads us nicely into moving on to Dr. Esther Murphy and James Delaney from the DigiAcademy, in Trinity College Dublin. So they've the DigiID accessible digital skills education program we're going to hear about now. A little bit of background to the folks. So Esther is principal investigator for the DigiID accessible digital skills education program for people with intellectual disabilities. So at Trinity College Dublin School of Engineering, an academic collaborator at the ADAPT Centre. So Esther is the founder and CEO of new TCD campus inclusive employer startup company, DigiAcademy. So it's an accessible digital skills e-learning platform co-designed with and for people with intellectual disabilities, their education, health providers and family carers. She's joined by James Delaney, who is a DigiAcademy teacher, and has been working alongside Esther and the team in the DigiAcademy to develop this program, to promote it, and to educate people in this space. So I'm going to hand over to Esther, who's going to take the lead along with James to talk us through your program. So you're very welcome, both of you, and you have the mic.
Thank you so much. Really delighted to be here this morning and to be part of such an important webinar and share our work, and delighted to be with James as well. Can you see my PowerPoint okay there?
So we can see the slide deck, but not the actual presentation. So you might need to reset there.
Okay, just one second.
Technology is a great thing when it goes well.
How's that fair now? Is that
same again though? No, it's not the actual presentation slides. So let me just.
Thanks a million.
Another try. No, that's still the same, fortunately.
I know you guys also have a copy there if there's an issue.
Okay, so Dylan, do you want to? So we have Dylan who can start sharing, if that's okay.
Don't worry, if not.
There we go.
Thank you so much.
Go for it.
Thank you very much, and really great speakers this morning, and thrilled to be part of the webinar. Today we're really going to focus on the positive as well. So really enjoyed listening to Rehab program. Our program, we have collaborated with 8 disability services across the country over the last number of years. The program was designed pre-pandemic and kind of a first responder approach of how we could upskill people with intellectual disabilities together and really push the boundaries of co-design. Like I say, I'm thrilled to be joined by my teammate, James Delaney, one of our teachers. And this slide here shows James high-fiving with one of our colleagues, Eibhlìn McNamara, after smashing some work in the studio, creating video education together. Great to see the next slide. Thanks so much. So the root of what we're doing is based in digital access and inclusion as a human right. We were really aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals, in particular, drawing attention to reducing inequalities and the need for quality education. And as I say, to really push the boundaries of what co-design could be. In the context that people with intellectual disability, from our research, we know experience up to 50% of whom experience communication difficulties, and what kind of impact this has for their accessing health and education, with 1 in 3 reporting challenges. We also were part of an international review of literature at the time during COVID to see what the problems people may be facing, what were the positives as well in terms of engagement. They were an accelerated use of trying to access technology, but identifying a real need for more accessible training at this time. And so it was in this kind of context that we came together as a community to co-design DigiAcademy. Next slide, thanks so much. You know, at the heart of the work has been establishing our citizen advisory panels, and we affectionately call CAP for short, which stands for capabilities. And at the moment, we're in a period of big growth. And when we kicked off first, we set up our first panel of people with intellectual disabilities with diverse age, gender, and digital competency, all sharing a passion to learn about technology and to stay safe online, and to, you know, combined with compassion to help their peers. What's really, really important as well within the program that we would be addressing an issue of low employment opportunities for people with intellectual disabilities. Also in the context of work changing, work scenarios, the greater need for digital skills. So combining these two together, that people would have a work opportunity with us to co-design our program, and now to be part of our team as an inclusive employer. Our program has had full ethical approval from Trinity College's Faculty of Health Science. And as I say, we in the start worked with 4 large disability services, growing to 8, including Avista, Brothers of Charity, Rehabcare, National Learning Network, and many others. We also present regularly our work together to kind of raise awareness and advocate around the area of digital access and inclusion. And we publish and present our work together too. Thanks so much. I'd love to see the next slide. Thanks, Eibhlìn. So our program started as a European program called DigiID. And in this program, all of our materials have been accessibly designed together with our panel. And we have engaged with over 500 people with intellectual disabilities, support workers, health professionals, families, and carers, and to design our program together. And this has resulted in DigiAcademy, our accessible digital skills platform. We've met in person, we've met online. In the beginning, everything we were doing was online, and we learned and shared tricks around safety and technology, all really rooted in skills building. And because in our research, we're hearing a lot of fear around using technology, and anxiety felt both by staff as well. Everything was very much rooted in, like, really echoing our last speaker's thoughts there as well, around having fun online, and even thinking about research in a different way, flipping it to think about being connected online as a social inclusion activity. So that has led to the development of our program. Next slide, please. Thank you. So together we've designed DigiAcademy. It's step-by-step video tutorials. We learned that people really enjoyed engaging in video education, delivered at a pace that suits them. So who better than our community to be training up as teachers? in topics, mainstream technology topics. People did not want to be kind of engaging in anything that might be outside the realm of the mainstream as much, to upskill, starting from getting their own email and weaving all the way through this safety and accessibility, that it was sort of just part of the building of the skills. And then it's underpinned with easy read principles and design, and very much connected to personalized goals. What does a digital life look like? And a digital life of one's choice. So we started off with these particular courses around using the internet, getting an email, starting with WhatsApp, using an online call facility, and always shining a light on accessibility features and safety. Thanks so much. Next slide, please. So together we've created our platform, which has very concretely a learning plan embedded in it. And this enables individuals to create their own personalized plan. They have their own page, which they can update, and they can see their progress, which is really important. It includes fun activities, interactive quizzes, learners gather badges, and it's all been designed with the learners in mind and their input, testing the platform for accessibility. There's also really important flexibility in terms of goal setting, targets, and really aligned to kind of the courses within centres that are accredited by QQI. Again, I guess to that point earlier, that's aligning with existing resources as well. Thanks so much. I'd like to see the next one. Thank you. So now to our supporter side, our new innovation. So also co-designing with supporters and large organisations, listening to the types of ways in which a learner progress can be monitored. Bearing in mind it's very learner driven. Learners get to pair with a supporter of their choice within an organisation, and there's an accessible registration process. And from the supporter side, they get to see how the learners are achieving and how they can map this to complementary digital skills education within their services. Thanks so much. I'd like to see the next one. Thank you. So during our extensive research process, we listened, this is just a snapshot of some of the feedback we heard. We heard about frustration of getting locked out and the problems around passwords, and how people would like to learn online safety tips and tricks in a fun way as well. We heard from organisations that there was a lot of vulnerability identified and safety and concern from staff as much as individuals. Our programme has been tested across the country, and we've heard how people are using it and they're feeling empowered to be led by the learners' needs, because it's all learner designed and driven, and the topics are chosen by the learners, and they're enjoying the bite-sized videos. We also heard that this emphasis on the building of the skills is really motivating, and it's motivating to see individuals like James and many others taking the lead, being our teachers. Thanks so much. So here we're really thrilled to now have trained 9 people with intellectual disabilities to deliver our education programme on what was identified as the most in-demand types of digital skills in terms of building pathways for education and employment. We've completed a full suite of Microsoft 365, for example, recently to enable people move on in education and employment, to build on our preliminary courses. All of the courses have an emphasis again on safety, accessibility, and are led by learners who have authentically learned how to do these skills. And as we always say, it's only power in your pocket when you're empowered to do so. So we have a lot of courses also on specific devices and how people can use the software on their own device. And alongside that, been advocating for more hardware, better Wi-Fi access, and all this kind of activity as part of the wider programme. Thanks so much. So here I have captured with James his particular story from when we first met in early 2021, when James didn't have his own email to now working with us as a teacher, and the amazing impact that's had for both himself and his community. But who better to share that story than James himself? So I'd really love to hand over to my colleague, James Delaney now. And if we could change the slide as well. Thanks so much. Hi there, James.
Thank you.
Great to see you, James.
You too. Good morning, everyone. I am delighted to be here. I am very happy to work as a DigiAcademy teacher. Thank you for the invite for this webinar. I had great fun recording the tutorials. Before I couldn't use email. Now I can believe I am the teacher for others too long. DigiAcademy will help more people easier access to safely using technology in the future.
That's fantastic, James. Thank you.
I encourage and show others how to get using their own emails. Here we are at our weekly classes of how to use technology. Here I am at the National Conference present to our service about the previous of using technology. I help people at my center to learn how to use technology safely. I have got more confidence and I help others to communicate more, to have fun, to have a brighter future. My online safety tips to keep password safely, share with trusted person. Don't share with everyone you don't know. Online scam. Don't click on the link you don't know. Delete it.
I think we were saying don't delete that one. Well done, James. Well done.
Here I am with my DigiAcademy colleagues after winning the European Digital Skills Award 2023. I was very proud of myself and my colleagues.
Thank you. Thanks so much, James.
Thank
you
you.
very much. We're all very proud of you and all the team. Thanks a million. James is also joined by his support worker, Michael, today, who was going to say a few words. Michael, would you like to say hi? Thanks so much. Well done,
Great.
James.
Hi, Esther. Thank you. Thanks, James. That was lovely, and we're all very proud of James's achievements. Just to recap, before the DigiAcademy program commenced, none of us of the service users here had emails, and to date, over 30 people here have their own email. Through his weekly sessions, James has empowered both service users and staff with the confidence to use technology safely. Through frequent use, James's session has taken the fear that some service users had and the supporters had about using technology, and also to be able to allow people to use technology because of the great resource that it can be, as has been mentioned before. Thank you, Esther.
Thanks a million, Michael. It's been brilliant working with you guys and the Brothers of Charity, and well done, James, for that. Next slide, please. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
We'll go on to the next one. I'm mindful of time. We have a short video we can share with you guys, anybody who's interested, introducing some of our teachers. We have a range of new courses coming focused on the learning. We have heard about the need for work in the area of scams, and in particular, where to get help. We've learned loads today. We're converting our courses with new teachers as well coming on board, which is really exciting. Next slide, please. Thanks so much. So right now we're in partnering with a range of different services. Here's a picture of one of our other teachers, the blonde lady there with glasses, Amy, supporting one of her peers in a Vista service. And we're trying out here new innovation created with our engineering team to try out using QR codes to address these issues of passwords and safety, and it's going really well. If anybody would like to learn any more about our work, you can contact us. Here's my details and our team details as well. Thank you so much, and great to be part of today's session.
Fantastic. Thanks a million, Esther and James. And I've forgotten your colleague's name there. Just gonna
Michael.
Michael, sorry, apologies. I meant to
Thank
write
you.
it down, but I got so engrossed in the content. So listen, fantastic. James, I really appreciate you telling your story. And just for you to be encouraged, I suppose, by the work that you're doing, and being able to work alongside people who you can connect with so well and so effectively. And I think, it'd be great to hear if there was one word or one kind of feeling that you have about your involvement in it. What does it mean to you to be involved?
Being for
Does it have your confidence?
yeah, it have my confidence.
Fantastic. And I suppose there's one thing that I find even in my work, if I support somebody to achieve something, or to help another person develop their confidence in being safe online, it is such a great thing that for a person to be able to support another person in their journey to being confident as well. So well done, and continued success in your work that you do. So fair play.
Thank you.
Esther, then, just in terms of, you mentioned there about people can send you queries about accessing the work. So just if there's anything practical that, just in terms of how you work alongside other organizations, how does that actually work, if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah, thanks so much, and thanks for being here, and well done again to James. We started as a research program, and we worked closely, as I mentioned, a couple of the organizations to develop research collaborations, to engage, to conduct focus groups and interviews. At this stage, we are setting up pilot partnerships So a number of the large services who worked in collaboration in the research are now piloting the program in their services. So they can reach us and we can discuss what that might look like. We design bespoke orientation days. So we go on site. I mean, that's our favorite, to be with people in their community setting and to take them through a demo. James and other teachers come with us as hired team members with us to run orientation days, to take people through registration, demo, and also really give hands-on support to set up learning plans. And we also create kind of study buddies with individuals who may have similar digital education learning goals. And that's been really good to see. And then we also set targets in terms of like what a baseline of knowledge may be like, so we can monitor that and to give feedback and encouragement and things like that. We also have opportunities to train new people as teachers. So that's exciting because it's ever evolving, this landscape of digital skills. So.
Super, that's great. Thanks a million. So it's kind of give people a few ideas on how they can engage with you. I just see a couple of questions in the channel there in terms of a costing. So is there fees involved, and maybe that can be worked through with people's individual needs and stuff. But just you might speak to that question, please.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something we deal with on individual basis because of the nature of the pilot. It's dependent on the numbers that are in a pilot with us, and also the learner needs themselves. Not being a one size fits all, we provide quite individualized supports as well. So I'd really encourage anybody who's interested in learning more to reach out, and we can set up meetings.
Fantastic. You might just remind people of the email address again.
Yeah, I can pop all that in the chat as well.
There we go.
Thank you.
Well
Thanks,
done. So that's there. So if you want to just take a screen grab of that while we're on, and we'll move on. And great. Thanks a million, folks. And some really good ideas and evidence-based practice there that can really help. So then moving along then to our final speaker of today, waiting patiently, Eibhlìn McNamara is a Deputy Director of Clinical Support at Spun Out. So I suppose, Eibhlìn, you can talk about what Spun Out provide and what your services are. Some people may be very aware of spunout.ie in particular in terms of your web site, but in terms of yourself then, Deputy Director of Clinical Supports, and you bring extensive experience in social work and psychotherapy with a focus on mental health advocacy. So you're dedicated to empowering users of the service through compassionate care. And prior to joining Spun Out in 2022, so Eibhlìn previously worked in Tusla, HSE and Jigsaw, with expertise including trauma-informed care, crisis intervention, and evidence-based therapies. So you lead innovative programs prioritizing holistic well-being and foster inclusive environments. And you're a keen advocate in relation to mental health awareness as well outside of your work. So Eibhlìn, over to you and talk about, I suppose, text about it and Spun Out. And you've already been featured by Dean as well today. So it's great to see that crossover. So there you go. Away with you. Thank you.
Thanks for the introduction, Daragh. It's lovely to be invited here today along with all the other panelists. And actually, I've learned so much from all the other panelists. So it's really lovely, as you say, Daragh, to see that crossover. But today, anyway, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Spun Out. So I'm the Deputy Director of Clinical Support for Spun Out, and Spun Out is an Irish organisation that provides information, support and resources to young people on various topics, including online safety. And, you know, our target demographic, I suppose, is young people, but anybody can use our service, and, you know, anybody does use it, all age groups use it. So we offer articles, guides and workshops covering topics like privacy settings, cyberbullying and digital well-being to educate and empower young people to stay safe online. And we also provide resources for reporting online abuse and seeking support if needed. So while we do a lot of our work is, you know, keeping people safe online, we do just a lot of really reliable information as well on our website. So people tend to use our website as a really reliable source of, you know, unconditional information where they can, you know, get the information that they need without having any judgment or anything. Just a second. Okay. So Spun Out itself started in 2005. So that was like probably at the beginning of social media, I would say. But, you know, as the years have progressed, we have had to, you know, move with the times. And in 2019, then we decided to come up with a service called Text About It. And we got the idea from the States. So like there are many digital-based mental health platforms in the States and in the UK as well. But we decided to bring that concept to Ireland. And the reason for that is because like when it comes to text-based support, you know, people are likely to use it for lots of different reasons. So, you know, people might not have someone to talk to in their immediate vicinity, and that could be, you know, to do with the timing of their crisis or the issue that they're having. So, you know, if you can imagine, like at 12 o'clock at night, somebody realizes that there has been, you know, an intimate image of them shared online or something like that, you know, something that like they don't want to talk to anybody else about, and they just need support and they need to vent in that moment. So they can access our service. It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week service. So I'll tell you a little bit about that as I go along with the slides. So as well, we've noticed that, you know, people might have someone to talk to, but they might not have the time they need to talk to them. Or, you know, it might be that they have someone to talk to, but they don't want to talk about those particular issues, or they might feel judged, or they might, you know, depending on the people in their immediate environment, they might feel like they're receiving unhelpful advice. So that's why they would come to us, because our service is really accessible. And so we found as well through our research, because we do a lot of research, so people may not be comfortable with the nature or format of services available, of other services available, you know. So like if you think about, like there are many services available, and we put people in touch with the other services available as well. But, you know, if somebody doesn't want to talk to another person, like a lot of our younger service users, they're more used to communicating via text message or, you know, through various digital platforms. So, you know, they might not be the type of people that would pick up the phone and actually talk something through. So as a first step, usually the texting like really does suit them. Okay, so, you know, the people that use our service as well, we find that they may not wish to avail of clinical mental health services. That again is for various reasons. But it could be to do with barriers to access, you know, it could be like the cost of them. It could be to do with like maybe sometimes stigma for some people is still an issue. Also, you know, if they're living in a very remote area, like even paying to get to mental health service can be very difficult. So again, people use our service, and we can put them in touch with other services, but they also use our service primarily as a source of support in the particular crisis or the particular issue that they're having. So they do, like, they'd get practical support from us in a particular crisis. While we don't offer support, or we don't offer advice, sorry, we do offer support. So we point people in the right direction, and if there's a service, our staff team and our volunteers are very well versed on what types of services are available for particular issues that our service users present with. So we would put them in touch with various resources and various other support networks as well. Okay, so the types of things like that we would help people with are, you know, like guidance on adjusting privacy settings on social media platforms. That's in terms of staying safe online. So if there was issues around cyberbullying, We'd give them information on recognizing and responding to cyberbullying, including strategies for dealing with online harassment and seeking support, issues around like digital well-being. So, you know, it's staying healthy online, I suppose. And like we would have a lot of articles on the main Spun Out website around, you know, staying healthy online and how to look after your digital well-being. So we'd have tips and advice for maintaining a healthy balance between online and offline activities. So managing screen time, avoiding excessive internet use. We would, you know, provide support to do with like the various types of online predators that the other panelists before me have spoken about. I'm not going to get into that too much now because of time. But we would, like, a lot of the resources that we would share would be Spun Out resources, and it would be on education on identifying and avoiding potential online predators, understanding common tactics used by predators, and steps to take if approached by a stranger online. So safe internet use as well. So we would provide those kind of tips and guidance for people. Okay, so our vision, mission, and values then. How do we keep people safe online? So our vision, and the reason this was set up, was so that everybody in Ireland would have somebody to talk to when they need it most. And if you think about safety, like in the middle of the night, like for instance, I'm just saying the middle of the night as an example, because usually there's no other services available then. But if somebody has a crisis, you know, to do with, like, you know, an intimate image, as I mentioned earlier, who do they turn to in that moment? You know, like they could be filled with, you know, dread, embarrassment. If somebody's already experiencing mental health problems, it can often be the case, you know, that really amplifies the mental health problems they're having. And I'll go into how we deal with that, what our strategy for that is, as I go along in the slides. So yeah, our mission is to offer a 24-hour anonymous text-based service, providing everything from a calming chat to immediate support during a mental health or personal challenge. And we connect people to resources that can help them in the future. And our values then. We're people-centered, equitable, empathic, innovative, safe, and secure. I'm sorry, now if you can hear my dog barking in the background. Joys of being online, isn't it? So how do we start a conversation then? So we obviously would never initiate a conversation with a texter. So the texter would always text us first, and they would text something like hello to 50808. So 50808 is the number that we use for our SMS and our WhatsApp services. So it's anonymous, but if somebody tells us that they are, you know, they or somebody else is in serious harm, then we can do something about it, like which we call an active rescue. And again, I'll tell you about that in a little while. But also, again, in line with child protection laws, we would report child abuse, because we can get, and it's in our terms and conditions and our privacy settings, we can get access to a person's phone number if we need to, but it's only in exceptional circumstances, and it is definitely not the norm. So if we do need to file a report to TUSLA or adult safeguarding, we can do so. But of course, you know, sometimes we're giving very limited information. So we will work with the texter and we'll let them know about what we need to do, what our reporting remit is. And, you know, people do understand, or sometimes people will disengage. But what we've found through our research is that people will come back to us because they know the limits of our confidentiality, and they know, you know, maybe they do a little bit of research after they go away. Like we would provide them with resources, you know, in terms of like what TUSLA do or what adult safeguarding do. So, you know, they might come back to us then and give us more information, and we can provide that to safeguarding offices or TUSLA as well. But, you know, our service is not just about reporting concerns at all. That's just something that we will do if we have to do to keep people safe. So that's just an image there of what a typical conversation would look like. People would come to us for a variety of different reasons. You know, people would use our service like to do it like bullying. They might just be feeling down. People could be feeling, you know, like people could be experiencing self-harm. People could be, you know, experiencing suicidal ideation. It could just be literally anything that people use our service for. When we started first, I suppose we marketed ourselves as a private or as a crisis text line, because that's what it is in America. But as time went on, we wanted people to know that they can use our service for any reason. And it's not just, you know, if you're experiencing a crisis. And this year we're going through a rebrand, and we'll be launching that in the next couple of months. So we will have we'll get our name out there a lot more in terms of it being more than just a crisis intervention, and we'll be doing a lot of workshops around the country as well. So my details will come up at the end of this presentation, but please feel free to contact me or anybody in Spun Out in terms of, you know, if you want us to give a presentation to a group. Okay, so our texters then are sorted in the queue by severity over chronology. So what that means then is that, you know, if somebody is presenting with suicidal ideation and there's, you know, imminent risk, then we will prioritize that. So like our risk detection algorithm will be able to go through the message that they've sent, and for keywords like, you know, they could be alluding to something to do with suicide, they could be, you know, it could be something to do with homicide. Those ones go straight up to the top of the queue. So we would prioritize those. So again, safety is always our primary concern. So what texter can expect? So we provide active listening, reflective listening, and empathic listening. And again, when it comes to staying safe online, those things are really, really important. We don't give advice as such, but as I mentioned earlier, we do provide people with the resources that they need, or we would, you know, send somebody in the right direction of what they're looking for. So who responds then? So we have hundreds of trained volunteers, and they engage with the texter to try to bring them from a hot moment to a cool calm. So not only do we have volunteers, but we also have staff members as well, and I'll tell you a little bit about those in a minute. But the 5 stages of the conversation, so this is our formula, if you like, for how we deal with our conversations that we get. So number 1 is we build rapport. And like this to me is the most important, because if you don't have rapport, then, you know, like nobody wants to be talking to someone that they think is a robot or robotic at the end of the line. So we're building rapport with the person so that they know, you know, that they're more likely to open up to us. Then we're exploring the issue that they're presenting with. So like it's a 45 to 1 hour conversation. So it's not like we're exploring absolutely everything in their lives. We're exploring the particular issue that they need help with in that moment. So then we'll identify goals. It's very similar to, in a sense, it's very similar to counselling, person-centered counselling, where you're identifying goals and you're exploring, discovering next steps. So you're getting people to where they need to be, but you're helping them to discover these next steps, and you're not telling them. And there's a big difference there, because, you know, if they're not identifying their own goals, or, you know, then if they're not able to discover their next steps themselves, then, you know, they're not going to be as committed to the goals, or they're not going to be really likely to follow any sort of a plan. Excuse me. And then the 5th stage then is closing the conversation. Okay, so the professional oversight then. In Spun Out, we have over 50 employees, and we have hundreds of volunteers, and we have a youth information panel as well on the digital side of Spun Out. But the professional oversight is provided by our trained so all of our trained volunteers are monitored and supported by a staff supervisor on the platform at all times. And like in the text about it side of the house, we would have about 30 staff members. So we would always have maybe about 3 staff working at any given time, and we would have a various amount of volunteers depending on the time of day. So our supervisors then would come from various backgrounds like psychology, social work, psychotherapy, mental health nursing, and they would be all qualified to a very high level. Okay. Okay, so then when it comes to exploring risk, we are talking to people about suicidal thoughts, but then there are different levels, we'll say. So if the person has a plan, then we would have a different intervention in our risk assessment. If they had access to means, then we would, address that, and the imminent time frame. So if we are calling in what we call an active rescue, the time frame for us to call that in is within 24 hours. So if somebody is telling us that they are thinking of taking their own life within 24 hours, then we would hand that over to emergency services. And as I said, that is called an active rescue. So one of our staff members would call the National Ambulance Service, and as I said earlier, we would be able to access that person's phone number because of those extenuating circumstances and get them the help they need. Okay, so conversations with texters. So this is the amount of unique texters that we've had since we started 4 years ago, or nearly 5 years ago, actually. But this is the amount of messages exchanged with texters. So as you can see from those figures, that like people use our service a lot more than one time. On any given day, we would have lots of new texters, but we'd also have lots of repeat texters. So that's really good, that people are using our service because they're finding it supportive. The average texter age then, as you can see, 18 to 21 is there's 22% of our texters that are age 18 to 21, but also like that's generally because, how we advertise ourselves is on social media, and also it's targeted, our advertising is targeted at young people, but that's not to say that all age groups don't use our service, because they do. And these figures actually are probably a few months old now at this stage, so it could be a little bit different. The texter gender then, so as you can see there's almost 3/4 of our texters are women, and again that aligns itself with the fact that women are more likely to receive support for their mental health. They're more likely to make those first steps. Okay, so texture sexual identity, we do get a lot of statistics because we work with a data analyst on the team all the time. We think it's really important to get all of these statistics so that we can really target, the information that we're putting out there, and that we can meet the needs of the people that use our service. As you can see there, we have like the most amount of our service users are in Dublin, but again, that just aligns with where the most amount of our population is. But all over the country, our service is used. The top 10 issues discussed then. So anxiety would be the top one, depression, isolation and loneliness then coming just after that, suicide and stress as well. And we would put people like in touch with resources, like especially, to do with like anxiety, depression, what we would do, if there was like free or very low cost counselling, we would ask them if they were interested in a resource on that, and we'd let them know about what's available in their area. So, like the conversation often starts out with people looking for support on a particular issue, but then the exploring stage is really important, because then we can see what other supports they need and we can put them in touch with that. So if you think of like an archipelago of islands, where like the water in between kind of bringing all those, or connecting the service user with the resources. So the conversation length then, as you can see, it's about 50 minutes, generally speaking. And sometimes it can go on a lot longer than that. And, generally speaking, that's if there's risk involved, those ones could potentially be a little bit longer while we're putting the person in touch with emergency services. So our high risk conversations then would be 17% of the conversations. So they mentioned suicide or self-harm. Imminent risk, 2.2% of conversations. And as what I told you about earlier, the active rescue then would be 1.2 of our conversations. So they would go through our ladder up risk assessment process. So it's a very unique kind of a risk assessment model that we use. And again, you know, like our primary aim is to help people within the conversation. But if, you know, if they're not able to safety plan with us in that moment for whatever reason, then, you know, 1.2% of our conversations do end up in an active rescue. And that is, again, just to provide safety for the person in that moment. Okay, so where have texters heard about us? So the majority of people have heard about us on social media, on media or social media, because that's where our advertising is done. Google search, family or friend, other professional, medical professional or school. And as I said, we're aiming to change that throughout this year as we go through our rebrand. Okay. So you can see there that Instagram then makes up 40% of the social media. So as I mentioned as well earlier, younger people are more likely to use Instagram. So again, they're more exposed to our service because of that. But we will hopefully be balancing that out as the year goes on. Yeah, so in terms of why a person would text in, so we do a post-conversation survey. Well, we offer it to every service user, not that everyone would take it up, but some of them, like, you know, so a large proportion of them do. So that's really, really valuable information for us. So 25% would say that they didn't have anyone else to talk to. And again, in terms of online safety, like that is crucial. Because again, in the middle of the night, or even, you know, in the middle of the day, if somebody is, you know, up in their bedroom and they realize that an intimate image has been shared, who do they talk to? Where do they turn to? What's the first step? So we're often, and that's become really relevant recently, I would say in the last year especially, what's known as sextortion or intimate image extortion. Those people would come to us a lot as that being the initial concern, and we would put them in touch with resources and, you know, come up with next steps with them. So again, very much aligned to that. Other people would say they want someone to talk to that doesn't know them. So again, it could be something very private and what they would label as embarrassing, that they want to talk about, but they don't want to feel judged, or they don't want to see the person that they're talking to, or maybe they don't want to hear another person's voice. They just want in the moment support. So again, younger people would say, and you know, some older people as well, but definitely from our research, we would say it's younger people that say they're more comfortable texting than talking about private things. Other people would say they don't have access to a therapist. So this would be a first step in seeking support. Again, more people would say they're too embarrassed to talk to somebody in person or on the phone, and other then would be a variety of different things. As you can see there, we have 91% of people saying that the conversation is helpful. I can see Tara there, you're probably trying to tell me to hurry up. Okay, I won't be too long more. So the crisis intensity then, this is a little bit confusing to look at, but the results are very good for us to see, because we can see that when a person, like 24% of people would say that their crisis was, we'll say 7 out of 10 when they texted in first, but then 7 out of 10, like crisis level, would only account for 6.5% of people at the end of the conversation. So we can see that empirically that it does work. So again, we can as you can see on this graph here, people feel more in control, hopeful, relaxed, confident, willing to seek help again. So that's really important again in terms of safety. So we can see that it does really support people's safety. So here you can see that people are talking about people that they haven't, or they're talking about issues that they haven't spoke to anybody else about. So that's very positive as well in terms of safety and keeping people safe. And in terms of agreeing to follow the plan at the end of the conversation, 73% are saying yes. So that again demonstrates that they're finding conversations very helpful. How likely are you going to follow these plans? 65% are saying yes, they will. Here is some text or feedback. I'm not going to go through it all, but we get lots of these every day, and it's so, you know, gratifying to see how well the service is received. And just to put it into context, I'd say every day we would have about 150 conversations with various texters. So some of them could be repeat texters and some of them could be for the first time. So that's a lot of conversations every day and a lot of people that are helped that might not seek help otherwise. Here are some of the words that they've been using. And there's my whistle to stop tour of Text About It and Spun Out. Thank you very much. And, you know, if you need to get in touch, my email is there at the bottom. And this, I think this is going to be available afterwards as well, this presentation. Thank you.
Fantastic, Eibhlìn. That's really good, and great to connect with the Text About It service that Spun Out provides. It's fascinating just how people in the kind of the safe space of that one-to-one dialogue on text, that people can open up so much and share such, I suppose, deep thoughts and crisis that they might be experiencing. You know, historically, you think that would have to be a voice conversation, that people would only connect in that way. But the day or the times that we live in now, people are so comfortable sharing things over a text message. Do you know what I mean? I don't mean things in a flippant way, just really deep and important aspects of their life. So it's really good. If somebody requested a voice call, is that a function that is provided, or have you ever had that? Just a thought.
No, we have never had that actually. It's
Okay.
just a text-based service.
Okay.
But what we do have on the Spun Out website is the YI chat. So it's a youth information chat.
Okay.
So people are able to use that for talking in person. What we would do though is we'd put people in touch with either that service or with other talk therapy services like, you know, Jigsaw or, you know, free
Sure.
services.
Sure.
Yeah, depending on age groups and stuff.
Yeah, also maybe their ability to text and to read and write and those sort of things. Yeah, but there's all sorts of voice activated text functions on phones and devices as well, that people, you know, not to be limited to the thought that it's only if you're able to text, you know. So if that's really good. If you stop sharing your screen, that'd be great, and we'll just open up to our panel now. We've come to the end of the last presentation, and it's been really fantastic to engage with everybody and to hear about your services and see the learning coming out from it. I know I've picked up some really good ideas to bring back into my organization and to share with others. Sarah, just touch base with you in terms of any questions that have come in for the panel.
Yeah, thanks very much, Daragh. A lot of thanks and praise for all of the presenters. A big shout out to James. There were a lot of people thanking James and congratulating him on his journey and his award. So thanks everybody for that. I have a couple of general questions for the panel, but just to go back, I think you've just covered it, Daragh, but Esther, people were asking about the cost of the text messaging. Is there a cost per text? And I know you asked about phone calls, Daragh, but somebody's wondering, is there an opportunity to leave voice notes, as that might be useful for people? And just lastly, Eibhlìn, I'm sorry, Eibhlìn, are the volunteers and staff trained to help support people who leave messages who have an ID, a learning disability, and may have poor literacy and so on? So maybe if we go to Eibhlìn first with those, Daragh, and then come back to me.
Great.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Yeah, they're all really relevant questions. We don't have the function to be able to accept voice notes. So it's just text messages that we're able to receive and that we're able to provide support on. But what I would say is exactly what Daragh said. People would use the voice function in their text messaging service, like in WhatsApp or in SMS, and they would speak out a voice note, and it would come through to us in a text. So, you know, there is sort of, you know, a workaround for that. And yes, all of our staff are trained to work with people with intellectual disabilities, and you know, they're very, very well aware of all different types of abilities and all different types of, you know, mental health presentations as well. So yeah, our staff would be very, very well versed in all of that.
And there's no charge to the service.
Oh yes, so it's completely free, yeah, and it's funded by the HSE primarily, but different pots, I suppose, within the HSE.
Sure.
But yeah, so it's 100% free and it's 24/7. So, you know, 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever, 5 o'clock in the evening, there's always someone there.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, Sarah. Yeah. Thanks, Eibhlìn.
Thanks so much, Eibhlìn. Thanks, Daragh. So I have two questions. The first one, if any of you can help Rebecca, she's wondering, is there a software or a device for people with dyslexia? If any of the panelists would know that.
I think we've drawn a blank on that one. So we might put that. I know that there are some assistive technology services. I think Enable Ireland might have one, and that's what we might divert that into the particular services that provide assistive technology supports, and we could maybe get back to that person if they have if we have a contact detail for them.
I know a colleague of mine would use Grammarly, you know, for anything to do, like she's dyslexic, and she would use Grammarly to help her to, you know, formulate, you know, documents and things like that. So, I mean, when it comes to using services, I suppose people could use Grammarly as kind of a conduit to getting to where they need to get to. But I don't know of any exact supports for dyslexia in particular.
Okay, thanks for that.
There's also, there's also Natural Reader that helps text to speech. Is another option. The Dyslexia Association we've worked with before, fantastic sports.
Yeah, that's a good
Thanks,
place to start.
Esther. So my next question for the panel, Daragh, was the last question. It's a two-part question, and I might answer the second part first, if that's okay. It's how can groups and organisations locally be supported to field such queries and concerns in general? And the second part, this is from Caroline, the second part is, could you remind us of the regional committees and maybe share details? I'm assuming, Caroline, you're talking about the safeguarding committees. So there are 9 around the country. So if you email safeguarding.socialcare@hse.ie, I will be able to send you the links, the list of all of the regional safeguarding committees. And I will just send that now to you, Dylan, so that you can put that up for me, the email address. But so the first part of the question, Daragh, is how can groups and organizations locally be supported to deal with this?
Okay. Any thoughts in terms, I suppose, deal with this is quite a broad question in terms of keeping people safe online. Is I suppose the crux of it. I suppose an initial response for me is looking at the resources that have been presented here and the programs that are available through the different agencies. Could be a first step just to look at what is available to you to promote good online practice and online awareness, and see what is happening within your community, linking in with the crime prevention folks in your local Garda station, and the community guard. I know in our centres in the Wheelchair Association, you know, we do invite the community guard in, and people can meet with them and see them in person in uniform and say, you know, that this is a person that has can provide such great supports to me personally. Just throw it open. Just, I know we're nearly out of time, but just throwing out, any folks here have any nuggets of wisdom to share? I think a lot of the presentations contain a lot of that really good advice in terms of that local response. I suppose following your safeguarding reporting processes within your organization, linking in with safeguarding teams in the HSE. So there are duty social workers available through all of the CHO areas, that if you have any concern that any person availing of a service or even a person in the community that you're aware of who may have been abused in person or online, that the safeguarding teams in the HSE and duty social workers are available to you. TUSA is available to you, obviously, in terms of child protection concerns, but in relation to adult safeguarding concerns of abuse, the duty social work, and you can get their contact details through that email address that Dylan sent in, or it's available on the HSE website in terms of the local safeguarding, adult safeguarding protection team in your area. That is a good place to start. And to build that awareness for yourselves. So I think we've kind of come to our cutoff time is 12 o'clock, and I just really have a few thank yous to if there's no any other burning issues there are coming through on the wire there. No, okay, we're good.
We've got them all.
The panel got off light today, so we'll have to get them back for a few harder questions next time. But really appreciate all of your energy and your commitment to this session today. All of our presenters really did a fantastic job, and that information is now available to everybody on here, anybody who watches it in the future. So hopefully you will get some traction out of that and people will be supported. Thanks to National Safeguarding Office and the HSE, to Sarah Mahan, Bridget Walsh, Carol McKeown, Ryan, and for Tim as well, Tim Hanley, for jumping in at the start. Really good to have that support and that collaboration with you guys. The National Federation of Voluntary Service Providers and Disability Federation of Ireland as partners for this event. Really great to do that. And I suppose for each participant who came in to watch this and who will watch it in the future, we wish you all the success in your online journeys. It is one resounding kind of message maybe you could take away is that you're not alone in this journey. There are people there to support you if you have any difficulty, regardless of how an online scam may try and convince somebody that they are isolated and on their own. That is never the case. And if any work that we do in this space will reinforce that message to a person to say, regardless of how big the mistake is that they've made, if that's how they see it as a mistake, but if they have been have made or been a victim of harm or abuse online, that there is support there. So we might just finish on that positive note and wish you the best for the rest of your day. Thank you.